shattered, petrified, always pushed aside. Sometimes I like to close my eyes and find a whole new world, 'cause what I have in front of me is not what I prefer. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, looking over my shoulder to see if you're even paying attention, if anyone even cares that I'm lost and I'm trying my best. This life just isn't fair. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, sitting in the corner, almost broken, so unspoken. Sometimes I like to close my eyes and find a whole new world, 'cause what I have in front of me is not what I prefer. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, looking over my shoulder to see if you're even paying attention, if anyone even cares that I'm lost and I'm trying my best. This life just isn't fair. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, sitting in the corner. I wanna be me, I wanna stand out, I wanna be free, I wanna step out of this bubble. Oh, can't you see me standing over here? I wanna be me, I wanna be free. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, sitting in the corner. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, looking over my shoulder to see if you're even paying attention, if anyone even cares that I'm lost and I'm trying my best. This life just isn't fair. I'm tired of sitting in the corner, sitting in the corner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is India, and I was new to ISHCMC at the start of grade 10. Going into personal project, I knew that I would want to do something that I would enjoy. I have to admit, it wasn't easy choosing a topic. I had to really explore my passions and see how I could best use them to set a goal for myself. My final goal was to write and produce an EP album of songs for teenagers which address relatable topics and encourage the expression of emotion. My global context was personal and cultural expression. I chose this because I was exploring ways to express different emotions, feelings, ideas, and social issues. My product allowed me to extend my creativity and grow a larger appreciation for the arts. During my last semester of 9th grade, we did a songwriting unit on social issues. This really brought back my passion for music. My music teacher inspired me to take on songwriting for personal project and use it to connect with others. So then I moved schools and began investigating on my topic by first of all researching on the different social issues such as depression, anxiety, suicide, and even heartbreak. I found more on how music can connect to people's personal experiences. I conducted a survey and found that about 73% from a sample of 110 students at ISHCMC grades 7 to 11, feel the music they listen to identifies their emotions. Two of the most popular topics people said they struggle with were loneliness and depression, and that is only from a small amount of students at our school. 50 people said they like to listen to relatable songs that are sung from their perspective. All this data I collected guided me to how I should create my own album, reaching out to these people. There is an immediate connection between how our brain develops during adolescence and the way we listen to music. Lyrics are immediate advice and expression of how a teen can be feeling. This all ties into musical therapy and how music can make people feel less alone. I did lots of research connecting topics such as depression with music to give my project more meaning and purpose. I looked into how to record my own songs by having interviews with people such as my uncle, who's a sound specialist. I experimented recording at school in the studio and recording at home by myself. My product was created with inspiration from my research by, first of all, writing as many songs as I could up until the end of September, then choosing my favorite of those 6 songs, which each covered their own individual topics that I researched previously. I then worked on these chosen songs and ended up recording 3 at school here in the studio and 3 at home with my own microphone. A challenge I had was ensuring that I had enough time in my action plan to record 6 full songs at school. Time was limited, but I overcame this challenge by doing several of the recordings during the Christmas holiday with help from my uncle to ensure a high-quality product. Through the global context lens of personal and cultural expression, I delved more deeply into the powerful impact that music can have on people's emotions. Many people thanked me for openly addressing these topics within my songs. I now see songwriting as more than something that I just do for fun, but as a means of voicing social issues that can share a message and make a difference to people's lives. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the Grade 10 2019 Personal Project Fair. Congratulations, India, for that amazing performance.
This evening, my classmates and I will be showcasing our personal projects for you in the NPR and Innovation Center. Before we invite you to enjoy the exhibition, we have 5 more classmates who will be presenting on this stage.
The MYP Personal Project is not just about creating a product or outcome. It requires us to deeply engage with the ATL skills of communication, research, social collaboration, self-management, and thinking.
All of us exhibiting our projects this evening have followed a cycle of inquiry. We began by investigating an area of personal interest. We planned how to work towards achieving our goals through the lens of one of 6 global contexts: fairness and development, globalization and sustainability, identities and relationships, orientation and time and space, personal and cultural expression, or scientific and technical innovation.
We took action by creating a product or outcome, and we reflected on our learning journey by writing a process journal and keeping process journal and writing a final report. Supporting us in completing our personal projects have been our teacher supervisors. On behalf of all grade 10 students, we would now like to thank our teacher supervisors for their support.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Dang, and my goal for the MYP Personal Project is to provide a glimpse into the lives of people in Saigon through creating a street photography book. Ralph Hattersley once said, "We are making photographs to understand what our lives mean to us." I wanted to offer insight into the different interactions that exist within our society. Having lived in Saigon my whole life, I've come to realize that I've overlooked so many different aspects of life in this city. They may appear minor, but each possess a wide variety of significant meanings for many different people. Through my personal project, I wanted to reconnect myself with the city that I'm blessed to have grown up in. I wanted to capture snapshots of people who I have no personal connection with and who come from totally different backgrounds to my own. For this reason, I chose the global context, identities, and relationships. My personal project has led me to believe that diversity and identities can lead to unexpected but meaningful connections amongst individuals. My source of inspiration from my personal project began when I created my Instagram account about 3 years ago. My source of inspiration came from the Humans of Saigon exhibition in District 1 in May last year. I've been inspired by the group Street Photography for years and their contributions to the Vietnamese community in spreading positivity through capturing the most simplistic moments of life. During the exhibition, I closely examined each of the individual photos and I realized how compelling the storytelling was. No words or captions were used, yet the complexity and technicality and composition of those photos truly captivated me. This sparked deep motivation within me. I spent my summer break at the end of grade 9 practicing street photography skills in the cities of Tokyo and Boston. When I began my personal project, I realized that street photography offers far greater challenges than my Instagram snaps of food and travel destinations. Street photography requires me to consider technical aspects such as lighting and positioning, as well as being able to tell an honest and respectful story through each image. As part of my research, I watched extensive TED Talk videos of photographers who have conducted photography projects from all over the world. I also interviewed my cousin and acquaintance who have been working on large-scale photography projects in Saigon to ask for their advice and expertise. When I began my personal project, I had a rough plan of the places that I wanted to go. Throughout October, I traveled across various districts in the city to capture ordinary but special and unique glimpses of daily life that is away from the fast-paced life of Saigon. The editing process was extensive and took me approximately 30 hours in total. However, it also allowed me to organize my photography book into the 3 categories: the gradient streets, the lively markets, and AFF Suzuki Cup, the Hope. Throughout the process of creating my product, I faced numerous challenges. Most importantly, I had to make sure that my photos were telling a meaningful story. I had to apply newly learned photography skills, and I also had to find ways to communicate with the people I was working with, as not all were comfortable with me taking photos of them. At times, I wanted to give up, thinking that maybe I was being too ambitious. It was the people that I encountered during my photo shoots that kept me continuing on this journey. Their stories and optimism towards life reminded me of why I chose this goal. The MYP personal project has taught me that I can connect with people who come from totally different backgrounds to my own. It has enabled me to develop a sense of empathy and to further appreciate the power behind the art of photography. Andy Warhol once said, "The best thing about a picture is that it never changes, even when the people in it do." No matter how fast-changing Saigon is, how quickly it will develop 10 years from now, or how its people will evolve over time, I hope that my photography book will leave a lasting memory for audiences, and that hopefully they glean a little of Saigon sunshine as they look through the pages. Thank you.
When I started out developing my personal projects, my original goal was to study and learn the aerodynamics of an airfoil so that I could apply that knowledge into designing and creating a drone that would be efficient and be able to drop a package. The reason I chose this goal was because I hoped that one day a version of my drone could be used in emergency situations to deliver food to people in need. Early on in the process, however, I decided that this was not something I could achieve in a 9-month project because of the number of prototypes it would take, unavailable materials, manufacturing process, and my lack of experience in terms of creating a product like this. Therefore, I reassessed my topic and realized what the priority of my goal is, and that is to acquire a better understanding on the concept of how airfoils generate lift. The global context I have chosen for my goal is scientific and technical innovation. The reason being, since my goal inquired into the principle of flight, it is like exploring the natural world and its law, and so this reflects directly upon the global context I have chosen. I started investigating my topic by researching how an airfoil generates lift. An airfoil, in this case, is the shape of the cross-section of a wing if you were to cut it in half. Through my research, I discovered that an airfoil generates lift by creating a situation where the pressure above the wing is lower than the pressure below the wing. However, to create this situation, an airfoil needs to be cambered or curved and inclined relative to the direction of airflow. I have encountered a lot of challenges during the, an interesting fact about airfoil is that there is an infinite amount of configurations to them. The fact that there are infinite amount of configurations means that each airfoil potentially possesses a different property. However, for my personal projects, I'm only selecting the 3 main types: flat bottom, undercambered, and symmetrical. I started developing my product by taking 3 designs of airfoils from an airfoil database. I then cut these airfoils into physical airfoil ribs with plywood using a laser cutter. Once that's done, it's now time for me to move on to assemble my wing. I did this by spacing out the airfoil ribs equally throughout 3 carbon rods before cutting a piece of Nepron and gluing it wrapped around the now skeleton of my wing. However, with only the wing, I was unable to do the testing, and so I had to build the rest of my plane, which consisted of the fuselage and tail assembly. Now, in order to fly, the plane needs to be fitted with a motor and electronics for control. I have encountered a lot of challenges during the personal project. Especially challenging for me was efficiently managing my time. In the early stages of the personal projects, I was very motivated of the designing stage using Fusion 360 on the computer. However, as I spent so much time on the designing phase, I forgot that the submission deadline was creeping up on me. Had I managed my time better, I could have started developing my product earlier, which would have left me time for me to test my prototype. Aside from time management, there are other challenges that I faced. These include things like building a lot of prototypes, installing electronics for my plane, and last but not least, learning to fail well. If I could offer one piece of advice to the grade 9 students doing the personal projects next year, it would be to create a detailed action plan and make sure you stick to it. Thank you for listening.
Throughout my lifetime, I have experienced Mid-Autumn festivals that are so special and memorable. It was as if they were a dream. This is why I titled my personal project, The Dream of the Traditional Lanterns of the Mid-Autumn Festival, also known as giấc mơ đèn Trung thu. I grew up in the Ukraine, a place that does not have Vietnamese Mid-Autumn Festival tradition. Nobody sells lanterns, there's no bamboo. However, my mother and aunt decided that I was not to miss out on this tradition. They created a unique way to make lanterns. Splitting the bamboo chopsticks in half, use these as the frame for lantern. They would then wrap cellophane around chopsticks. Every Mid-Autumn Festival, I had a very beautiful, unique lantern of my own. I was very happy. At the age of 11, I returned to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I noticed that the true values of Mid-Autumn Festival tradition had become less visible throughout the city. The authentic lanterns had been replaced by the plastic toys. These battery-operated plastic lanterns are expensive to buy and are potentially dangerous for young children and the environment. Seeing the threatening problem that the plastic lanterns were causing to the traditional ones, it became my goal to help improve the situation by raising awareness about traditional lanterns and educating the audience about the creation and history of these Vietnamese lanterns. The global context that I chose was orientation in space and time. The 1954 migration caused many Vietnamese people to move from North to South Vietnam, resulting in the development of lantern making in Ho Chi Minh City. The deterioration of lantern making was at least partially caused by the changes in human way of life. People such as Vietnam becoming a member of World Trade Organization in 2007, leading to trading, exporting, importing non-traditional lanterns from outside Vietnam. I began my research by exploring the lantern trade villages in Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City only has one lantern trade village. I conducted and observed interviews with customers, sellers at this trade village. Not only that I learned about the customers' preferences and choices, I also learned that most artisans are very old and most are no longer in the business. Eventually, I was able to find Phu Bin family of artisans, a family who has been making lanterns for 4 decades in Ho Chi Minh City. With their help, I created the plan for my first ever exhibit at ISHCMC. I wanted to educate the audience about the traditional lanterns of Mid-Autumn Festival. I held 2 more exhibitions. The second one was a charitable donation at Swan Bay Residence. My last one was an artistic event where everybody was welcome to come, create, and decorate their own lantern, recalling how much happiness and joy traditional lanterns can bring to people. In addition to my exhibitions, I created a video diminishing the interest of the lanterns around Mid-Autumn Festival. I started ISHCMC at the beginning of grade 10. When I decided on my personal project, I only had 3 weeks before the actual Mid-Autumn Festival. This meant that I only had 3 weeks to conduct all of my observations, research, because after Mid-Autumn Festival ends, the lantern trade village would also close, making it extremely hard for me to keep contact with neither customers, sellers, or the artisans. I overcame this challenge by creating a detailed action plan. Before personal project, I never thought that I would be able to create a plan or host an actual exhibition. It was a complete new experience. I would encourage grade 9 students to be creative in your choice of outcome, project, and be prepared to take risks. Thank you.
My goal for the personal project was to design and create a floating wetland that could both clean the water and also provide an aesthetically pleasing decoration. So, a floating wetland is essentially a man-made island that floats. It utilizes a special type of plant which, when water flows underneath its roots, it cleans the water. On an industrial scale, these are used to maintain large bodies of water as well as clean up some contaminated patches of water. So I originally got this idea on a vacation in New Zealand a few years back. Me and my family went on a tour and we came to this lake. I noticed this very large floating island, and I asked the tour guide what it was, and he proceeded to explain to us. He told us that it was a newly made floating wetland from the New Zealand government, which they had spent almost $2 million making. He said it provided a habitat for over 1,200 birds and was made out of recycled plastic bottles and cans, dirt, and plants. He says that the government uses it to maintain the lake, and they say it's actually very efficient. So after having picked my topic, I needed to research. I needed to find out how they work scientifically, who uses them, where they get used, and what other functions that these floating wetlands have. To do this, I first interviewed our school's sustainability coordinator, Ms. Tanya. Ms. Tanya helped me a lot through my creating and building process. She sourced me materials such as the tools I used to make my product, as well as the pond lining I used to fill my pond, the bamboo I used. She practically gave me most of my materials. The first thing I needed to do was find a body of water to put my floating wetland in. At first, I had decided to choose the river, but I soon realized this wasn't a good idea. So I asked Ms. Tanya and the school whether I could do it at school. They said yes, and then I started making a pond by one of the grass patches down by the gate. First, as you can see, I used a bunch of bamboo, which Ms. Tanya also taught me techniques to making, such as splitting the bamboo, the rope tying. She helped me a lot. I ran into a few minor inconveniences throughout my product. One of them being, after I came back from Tet vacation, I went to go check on my product, and I found that almost all of the water had evaporated. The bamboo frame was cracked. All my plants were either missing or dead. This was a big problem. So I had to rebuild my bamboo raft. I had to go out and collect the plants again, and I had to refill the pond and make sure that this time it didn't evaporate out again. This actually took me quite a while and set me back a bit. Another challenge I had was that originally I had planned to make my product a lot bigger. My original designs were made 5 by 5 meters, 5 by 7 meters. However, due to the limited space we had at school, I was only able to make my floating wetland about 1 meter by 1.5 meters. This kind of also damaged the effectiveness of my product. Overall, after some time, you could actually see a visible and noticeable difference in the clarity and cleanliness of the water. However, it wasn't at a very effective rate. It took almost a month to notice anything. And usually, if you use an industrial one or a bigger one or a more professionally made one, it takes up to a few days to a couple weeks. So if I were to do it again, I think that I would find a different place to put my floating wetland so that I could make it my desired size and have the correct effectivity that I want. So in the beginning, when I started choosing this topic, everyone was telling me that it was a risk. I also thought it was a risk because I didn't know anything about this. I also didn't know whether it was even possible for me to make one that works. But in the end, I'm quite glad that I did, because I found it to be an interesting learning journey and something that I found quite fun. I also see quite a few opportunities to develop this in the future. One of them being maybe I could start an environmentally sustainable cast group when I entered the DP program. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmy Koch, and my chosen goal for the MYP personal project was to create an action proposal for Vena Capital Foundation in order to debunk taboos around menstruation and reduce the barrier it forms for local Vietnamese girls. This action proposal took the form of a 13-page report in which I outlined my recommendations for a menstrual health program. As a newcomer in Ho Chi Minh City, I went out to the supermarket in the hope of purchasing tampons. However, I couldn't find any. In this inconvenience, I eventually found my inspiration. Out of need and curiosity, I conducted some basic research and was shocked to find out that many Vietnamese women don't use sanitary products at all. After having found out about this, I needed to find a way to tackle this issue. I set up a program that would maximize the impact I have by directly solving the problem. In the early stages of this process, I came to the realization that I couldn't do this alone, and needed the support of a larger organization with connections to local schools. It was a real challenge for me to find such an organization that was A, willing to work with me, and B, had somewhat a connection to my goal. However, after doing some research and asking around, I came up with Vina Capital Foundation. To my great relief, the director of Vina Capital Foundation, Mr. Rad Kivet, responded very positively to collaborating with me. And after a few meetings, we came to the conclusion that an action proposal would be the most meaningful product I could create. Using my initial research, I then set up a survey in order to better understand the topic that I was hoping to tackle. In order to help me do so, I was supported by social scientist Ms. Amy Pollack. She helped me with the phrasing of questions and creation of a consent form. Using the data I collected, I then went on to draft my action proposal. This proposal included my background research, my data collection, and my method. But most importantly, it included my recommendations for a menstrual health program, such as to complement the Vietnamese school curriculum by integrating menstrual health trainings, to equip girls with the necessary resources and knowledge to help them take care of themselves and thus reduce absenteeism, and C, to encourage the open communication and discussion of menstruation amongst not only peers, but also family, thus helping to debunk the taboo. After writing my action proposal, I went back to Vina Capital and once again presented it in front of the director. To my great relief, he responded very positively. The foundation already had plans on the table for a program involving after-school girls' clubs. The two main pillars of this program are financial literacy, and leadership. After having read my proposal, however, the foundation is now looking to add menstrual health as a third pillar to their program. We have come together on this night to celebrate all the hard work we have put in and the end of the personal project. However, I am proud to say that my project will continue to develop and grow long beyond today. It will continue to do so up until the day where I will stand in front of a room full of people and no one will feel uncomfortable when I say the word tampons. Thank you.
These students have given us a snapshot of the inquiry possibilities with the MYP personal project. I'm sure everyone in this audience would agree that those incredible presentations were very inspiring. Let's give one more round of applause to our outstanding... Can I now invite the rest of grade 10 to join us on the stage? The International Baccalaureate values the MYP personal project equally to all other MYP subjects. The students standing beside me on this stage have worked for several months in order to achieve a goal which was challenging and they set for themselves. Tonight, they have learnt a great deal and they are very much looking forward to sharing their personal project experiences with you. Very shortly, we will invite you to view the exhibition. But before that, please join me in congratulating every single student in grade 10 for their personal project achievements.